Hey friends, I'm Daniel Nesbitt, and welcome back to the Fixing Your Font series. If you haven't taken a look at the first episode of this, I highly encourage that you do so. As I go through this series, I will be highlighting, as you can see on the screen in green, the letters that we have covered. So if you are kind of jumping in and out of these episodes, hopefully it gives you an idea of what's been covered in the previous episode. So hopefully that helps. But anyway, I wanted to pick things back up a little bit. I think we're going to continue along with the lowercase here. We made some good progress, both with our control characters and a few others as well. So I just want to keep that momentum moving forward. So I think the easiest way to jump in here is going to be with the M. And I want to build on a few things that we had talked about in the last episode and go from there. So the first thing we're going to take a look at here, number one, we do have some adjustments that we need to still make from the last episode with the N, where we kind of had this curved stroke here tapering into the vertical stroke. So obviously we still need to do that, but there's a couple other things that I want to focus on as well with the M, so that it looks like it fits in with everything. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to copy the whole thing here, and I'm just going to delete one chunk of it here. So when I paste this in, we now get the curve into the stem looking right. Everything's happy there. We do have this going on here. It's not as high as it should be, but I'm going to deal with that in a moment. Because the first thing I want to point out when we're working with an M is it's really not just two N's put together. It's not like a ligature. Actually, one of the tricks that you'll find with an M, if I get my wording right here, is that it's actually a little bit narrower in this negative space here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight everything here. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and my Option key, and when I do that, that's keeping my two Bezier handles there in place because I want to do that. And I'm bumping this in twice, and then we'll go ahead and we'll do it on the other side as well. I'm gonna see how that works. So what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna copy paste and kind of move that back over. And I know I'm gonna have a few things that I've got to clean up here. That's fine, but I just want to see where we kind of stand here. And actually, I think I could probably go a little bit wider. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go the opposite way, but rather than going 20 units again, I'm just gonna go 10 units. On either side of these 2 points here. I'm just trying to keep this curve even, is why I'm doing things the way I'm doing things here. So copy and paste that again, move that over. We'll get these 2 points here lined up, which they look pretty good. And we've got an M here. Honestly, I don't know that there's a whole lot that I would probably adjust, at least for the sake of what we're doing here. What I am going to do, though, is holding down the Option and the Shift key, I'm going to move, there was a point here, and all I'm doing is I'm moving that up, but once again, I'm thinking ahead of my Bezier handle up here. I don't want to move that because I want to keep my my curve kind of in the right spot. I'm actually going to grab, actually what I should double check. I've got a lot of points coming into that one spot there, but everything looks right, so I'm going to roll with that. The other thing that I could do, just taking a look at this M real quick here, is sometimes depending on your font, this area here where you have the two arches kind of intersecting to each other, that can get a little bit messy there as well, and maybe a little bit too much mass in that area. In this case, I don't think that's too much of an issue, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave that. I think that actually looks alright, at least for now, on this one. But the good news is with all that wrapped up, we have an M that's a little bit narrower, but it looks like it kind of fits. If I were to go through and I'm just trying to think of words, maybe boom works. I know I don't have this current, but something that kind of looks like it fits in with the flow of things here. I think that looks a little bit decent. Just narrowing up that little bit. I know it's technically not, actual width or anything. Of course, we're not doing a fixed width font here, but it seems like it kind of behaves pretty well. Just Just gonna triple check one thing here. I think we're all right. Sometimes my eyes play tricks on myself because I look a little bit too closely at things, but I think we're good. So that's going to wrap up the end, so I'm just going to go ahead and check that one off. And the next one we're going to take a look at here is the lowercase u. Again, this is going to be the same situation in a way, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go and just copy that n. I'm going to delete what I had here, and then I'm going to flip this around so it looks the correct way for a U. Now the thing with a U is too similar to the M. It actually is a little bit narrower, and I'm not going to bump this in too much. I actually just bumped it in 10 points. I'm also leaving kind of the apex of my curve down here a little bit to the left, just because I kind of want to keep this vibe going on here. Actually, as I say that, no, I definitely do want to keep it there. And kind of what I'm doing is I'm just kind of keeping a little bit of a stress there, similar to up here. I think that actually isn't going to be too bad. And then the other thing that I'm going to do as well is we're going to kind of adjust this curve a little bit, just so it kind of settles down a little bit more. What's interesting you'll find is how your eye can play tricks on you if you're going from something like the bottom left to the top right. And I'm just trying to look at kind of how we can make this feel like a nice, comfortable curve there. I know that some of this comes with a little bit of practice, so you're probably looking at this going down. I don't understand what you're looking at or why you're doing it. And if you look at other typefaces, especially if you take a look at open source typefaces, you'll often see that there's a little bit of magic going on there, just to kind of help smooth things out a little bit. There are things like speed punk, I'll just flip that on real quick, that you can use to help with that, and that was just Command Shift and X for me to toggle that on and off. It is tempting when you're using speed punk to line these two curves up here so that it kind of creates a smooth contour, and you can use that if you'd like. I used to kind of be that way where I'd go through and make sure that all these were absolutely perfect, but at the end of the day, what I've kind of realized is as long as it's close, you know, there's a little bit of a margin for error with your eye and this kind of stuff. So not everything needs to be technically perfect, as we're learning in this series. So you just kind of have to trust your eye a little bit on those. So we'll go ahead and check that one off as well. And we're making some pretty good progress here. The next one that I wanted to go ahead and take a look at, I want to jump back to the round characters for a little bit because there's two that particularly stand out to me, and I think I'm going to start with the lowercase g. So there's a lot going on with this one here, and part of the reason that I'm jumping on this now is because we also have the lowercase q ready here, and usually my trick is to use my q as a starting point for the g. Now there are a couple things that we're going to take a look at here because as you can see, kind of where the tail or the ending of the G, lower part of the G here, it curves around. It gets a little bit tight next to this round upper bowl here. And what we'll find is there's actually some tricks to get around that. So we're going to go through, we're going to delete everything. I'm going to leave that lower curve for now, even though I'm likely will end up not using it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of position this something like that. I'm going to leave this tail down here for now. But the first thing that I want to point out when we're designing a G is this upper bowl here is actually not as tall as something like the Q. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to grab some of these here. And it's possible that I'm... Oh, there we go. So I'm going to go up... I think I did... Was that 3 or 4? Well, hopefully I counted right. And then I'm going to just kind of divide that by 2 a little bit. And basically all I'm doing is I'm getting this curve, or the bottom of this bowl, away from the bottom of the letter form here. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just bump this down so that we're kind of in a little bit better place. There we go. So ideally what I'm aiming for here is just something that's got a little bit more balance between the top and the bottom. And now this is where I get into things that you're often stealing from other letters and other characters. And in this case, let's see here. There are a few things you could maybe consider getting away with. So for example, in the past I've riffed off of a C before, where I kind of just have this 45-degree angle ending. And that might not look too bad. We could give that a try. I should add that as I started this series, I had no particular thoughts or opinions on how this actually turned out. This is more for the sake of education than a typeface looking good, but you know, something like that could work. It is going to take a little bit of work to get it to look right, but let's see what we can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and line up this edge here a little bit. And the tough part is that we've got a point down at the bottom here trying to line with a curve up at the top here. I'm favoring this side because on the other side we've got a curve going into a straight line, and at least for me that's a little bit easier to align, so I'm not totally worried about that. It's maybe just a little bit easier to kind of get these lined up. So I'm going to maybe aim for there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag this curve out to there, and we'll just kind of get all these lined up. The next step that I would do here is probably align this closer to the center, just kind of the center of the curve, so knowing that there's about half of the curve here and loosely half of the curve there. That does make this look a little bit wonky. That's fine though, we can deal with that in a moment. I'm also going to push that up a little bit as well. So where I'm at right now is I don't mind how we curve down on the right hand side here, but obviously this left side has a little bit of work to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this up a little bit more, and then the next thing I'm going to do is we're just going to try and even these two out here. And all I'm doing is I'm trying to get this point and this point to be equidistant from the the edge, this handle and this handle equidistant from the point. Get my terminology right, and that actually doesn't look too bad. Again, like I said before, I could turn on speed punk, and actually I don't think I was too far off, but maybe I want to nudge that in a little bit more so we've got a little bit more of a curve there. The other thing that I'm going to do is we're going to kind of play around with the kind of how this ends here. So I'm actually going to turn speed punk back off, and the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 up on screen here so we can kind of watch this in unison, because what I'm feeling is we've got a nice curve here, but it doesn't really replicate itself on the other side. I don't know, this could be potentially a bad idea or maybe a great idea, but we'll find out in due course here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these 2 points, and assuming my keyboard wants to agree with me here, which it does not. Let's see, there we go. I guess we'll just use the keys to bump it around, but I'm just going to kind of line it up there, center it up there a little bit, and then let's just see if we can kind of give that a little bit more of a gentle curve there. So it's another trick I have, but basically just kind of copying that curve, making it, mirroring it, I guess would be the right word. The other thing that I'm looking at here is as we're coming up on this curve, and I'm betting I can measure this here, so we're looking at approximately 80 points, give or take there. But then as I look down here, we're kind of like in that 79, 80 point range. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're looking at type, that is absolutely a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of thin this out a little bit more. It might be too much, actually. And I may even try and curve some of this out a little bit better as well. And this is the challenge with for me at least, it's the challenge with 45-degree endings here. If you've seen a few of my videos on this channel, you know that that's something I tend to struggle with. So let's see if we maybe shorten that up a little bit more. Maybe something like that kind of makes this a little bit better. I'm just going to recheck again. But basically I'm just kind of looking for how a pen might stop along this line here. If you were to have finished this stroke, lifted your pen up off the paper, we're trying to effectively replicate that. But yeah, so something like this I don't think is too terrible. So it starts out a little bit thick here and it slowly kind of thins out towards the end a little bit. You know, maybe I don't even need something that dramatic either. I could maybe a little bit more that way, so just it doesn't thin out too much. But something like that I think gets us in a pretty good place. I'm just going to go ahead and as you notice, I've just been using 60 points for my side bearings, not really dealing with spacing or kerning yet, but I think something like that isn't too offensive to the eye. It's totally possible that I'll come back later and completely clean this up again or change this up, but I think something like that works a little bit. I could maybe go through and just ever so slightly smooth kind of this transition point between the straight line and curve out a little bit, but you get the idea. Basically, we're taking this bowl, we're making it a little bit smaller, moving it up, and then what that does is it allows for some space so that we can get the bottom tail of the G here. And I think something like that looks pretty decent. Since we have it up on screen, we might as well just take a look at this C while we're at it. And what I'm going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to grab that O. And for something like this, so there's a lot of changes and stuff going on here, and truth be told, because I was the one who did this and I kind of know what I did, what I can tell you is that everything kind of should be, actually back up because this is a good point for the G. I kind of wanted everything on a 45-degree terminal here, so let's make that a 45-degree terminal, which actually kind of helps out a little bit. But what I'm going to do is this is something that I've done in the past when I get frustrated with a C, is I will just go and effectively just steal my O and then redraw it. So a couple things as we're taking this into account. So when I drew the original C, I didn't include any adjustments with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete that old C completely. And let's see if I can remember how to do this. So we're going to reverse the contours of that, which creates this going on here. But hopefully this makes sense what I'm doing in a moment. So if we chop that out, I can delete that piece, I can delete that piece, and now we've got a C that looks a little bit better. Now again, we run into the same situation as we did on the G here, where we've got these points that are a little bit too thick as they end. The other reason that I'm doing 45 degrees too, if you're kind of curious and following along with any of this, is it's easy to hold down the shift key and constrain it to a 45-degree angle. I am a sucker for 45-degree angles and things that I can snap to while I'm working. The other thing that I did, which I really didn't point out, and that was kind of on purpose when I was drawing that box originally to chop this out, but I'm going to throw one up here now so you can see, is At the bottom here, I've got the box that I just drew just barely touching the edge of the C here, and you'll notice on the top that it's actually missing it by, I think that's about 10 points. And that was by design, because one thing that I like to keep in mind when I'm drawing certain letters or certain shapes in type is that while our eye, or I guess while our brains want things to be geometrically perfect, typically our eye puts a little bit more weight or favors a little bit more weight towards the bottom of our letters than the top. And so actually what you end up getting, for illustration purposes here, we'll go back to my C here. But if this big chunky block was our example letter for a moment, and I'm going to kind of really emphasize this a little bit, but effectively when I'm drawing letters like this here or thinking about that, I'm almost kind of thinking of this shape a little bit where things taper a little bit narrower towards the top and widen out towards the bottom. When we get to the S, you'll really see this in action. It's part of the reason why an S can look upside down, even though if you were to flip a geometrically perfect S, it would still look the same. But our eyes don't perceive it that way. So it's a little bit of visual trickery. It's kind of fun, but effectively that's what we're doing here. Is we're creating that visual compensation because our brains just want the bottom to be a little bit well, pushed out a little bit more. You could argue, and maybe I would, that I could go back and maybe adjust this a little bit more. Maybe I took out a little bit more. I am kind of freehanding this a little bit, but that's, I think, pretty close to 45 degrees. That might not be too bad. I'm not opposed to it, and actually I might just leave it for the sake of this. But I do want to move on to the lowercase e here. So again, with the O and the C, we kind of have some of the pieces that we need. Actually, just jumping back here real quick too. Let's go through and kind of mark off some of the ones that we've done. So we've make sure we get the G and the C. For the E, so we do have that crossbar on the E, and we'll probably end up reusing that with the F and the T here. I don't think I have anything else that I can really rip off though, which is kind of why I was jumping back over here, so that's fine. So what we'll do is we're going to do a similar situation here. I'm going to leave the crossbar in here because I already have it, but I'm going to go through and delete the rest of that. And then basically just we're going to take the C and we'll kind of copy that over here. One other thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete that chunk there, copy this chunk and move that over, and let's just make this a whole shape again, because right now I just have two lines that are hanging out and they're not really best friends, but now they are. There we go. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of nudge these together, and there we go. I'm actually going to take this one step further. We'll merge that into one shape as well. Perfect. So I'm going to just take my crossbar, we're going to push it back into position here. There we go. And we've got our E kind of chugging along. Now, the way that or basically what I'm after here, we'll go that route, is this here needs to line up a little bit more out here, so we do need to push that out a little bit more. In the same breath, I'm actually tempted to narrow the top though, so we're going to have two things going in two different directions. And I think for that, I'm going to start with the top just because it's easiest. So we'll kind of narrow that up a little bit. And I think that's actually pretty good. And then the other thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to bump the crossbar down a little bit so there's a little bit more space up here, but I could change my mind on that later. The other thing that I'm going to do is just grab this line here and make sure that my points are lined up. Looks like they are. Fantastic. Alright, so similar to what we were doing a little bit earlier with the G, we're just going to kind of push this out a little bit. And actually, again, I'm going to just put two letters up on the screen so we can kind of watch this in unison. And effectively, we're repeating what we did on the G, except rather than lining it up with a curve, we are now kind of lining it up with a 90-degree corner there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to nudge that over by 5 units. The other thing that I'm going to do is maybe kind of bring this up a little bit more, kind of continue the curve a little bit. I think something like that looks pretty good. I actually could even bring it down a little bit, because that's not a terrible idea either. And then yeah, it's just a matter of making this curve again kind of fit the mold a little bit. So we're gonna nudge those middle points over a little bit. Again, just using speed punk to kind of keep myself in check there. Looks like I'm a little bit more in practice now, getting this right. Actually gonna back that off just a little bit. But there we go, not too bad. It looks like the E is a little bit more planted now. It's not exactly looking like it's going to fall over with that smaller, the smaller bottom half of it. Again, thinking back to that, I think it's, well, I wasn't good at geometry, but basically we were kind of lightening up the load at the top and adding a little bit more visual weight to the bottom. The other thing that I'm looking at here is kind of how this visually stacks up against the C and the O, since I've got those on screen here. So the question that I'm asking myself is, does this E look the right width or not? Good way to test that if you really want is sometimes you can make them a little bit wider. I mean, you could go really wide and decide, you know, if that's right or not. I don't know that I want it to go too much though, maybe just a tad. Because effectively what I'm looking at is I'm kind of looking at this interior space here, because this crossbar actually does eat up a little bit of that interior space on the E versus the O and the C, especially the C because we've got this open side here. So I'm not too opposed to making sure that those look a little bit more even. I always kind of like to think of it like filling a glass full of water when you're thinking about shapes, and this goes for kerning as well, but we'll stick with the letter analogy for now. But basically, if I had, you know, let's say we had this O fit 1 liter of water, I would want to know that if I took out that 1 liter of water that I could put it in the C, and that C would fit 1 liter of water, and that if I filled up these two spaces in the E, that each of those would take up a half a liter of water. You kind of get the idea. And it's not that they have to be, again, technically perfect. They definitely don't. Speaking of technically perfect, not sure why that was being goofy, but anyway, it's kind of a way for you to think a little bit outside the box a little bit, not getting caught up, you know, so much in the shape that you're making, but thinking about the negative shapes as well, the space that surrounds the letter. How much space is that occupying or taking up, and how does that relate to other letters as well? And it kind of helps keep some visual consistency across your typeface. So we'll go ahead and we'll check that one off as well. So with that, I think this will be a good place to kind of pause here, because now we're getting into some different letters. But hopefully you're enjoying this series. Hopefully you're finding this useful if you're working on your own typeface right now. Maybe you're getting a little bit more of an idea of potential changes or things that you want to kind of adjust or fix as you go. And I've honestly been having a lot of fun just kind of stepping through this, and even kind of thinking back to some of these mistakes that I made when I was first starting out a typeface. So if you are finding this useful, make sure that you go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't already, I always appreciate when you hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified when a new video comes out. But as always, appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you next time.